Harold Dean Mooty, Jr. was born the second of 4 children of Harold and Charlene Mooty. Dean was raised in the small West Alabama town of Marion, and he's always been very proud of his small town black belt roots. His parents were educators. His mother a professor of home economics at Judson College and then the University of Arkansas. His father a college coach, teacher, and later high school and elementary school principal. Dean attended the public schools of Marion, Alabama until the 10th grade when he transferred to Marion Military Institute. He would graduate from Marion Institute's high school and then stay at Marion for 2 years of college before transferring to the University of Alabama. Sports were always a big part of Dean's life, and he excelled at them all. In fact, some have said he was one of the best all-around athletes ever to come out of West Alabama. In high school, he was the quarterback on the football team, the point guard on the basketball team, and the pitcher and shortstop on the baseball team. He was the most valuable player on all his high school sports teams his senior year. In junior college at Marion, Dean did something very few college athletes have ever done. He played and started on all 3 major sports teams at the collegiate level. His sophomore year at Marion, his junior college football team went 8-2 and finished 9th in the national junior college polls. Alabama fans in the room would be interested to know that Marion beat the University of Alabama freshman team 14-10 in Marion in the fall of 1976. This Alabama freshman team was loaded with future superstars that 2 and 3 years later would win back-to-back national football championships for the Tide in 1978 and 1979. Dean's sophomore year at Marion, he was named the Alabama Junior College Baseball Player of the Year and signed a baseball scholarship with the University of Alabama. Although signed as a pitcher, Dean started for 2 years for the Crimson Tide at third base and in left field. He was the team's second leading hitter his junior year with a .314 batting average and led the Tide in home runs his senior year. One of the highlights of his Alabama career was playing the reigning world champion New York Yankees in 1978 on the Yankees' way to opening day of the Major League Baseball season. Dean had the thrill of batting against future Hall of Famer Jim "Catfish" Hunter and reigning Cy Young Award winner Sparky Lyle in a 6-0 loss to the Yankees. Dean received a bachelor's degree from the University of Alabama in finance and a Juris Doctorate degree from the University of Alabama School of Law. A job offer from a Montgomery law firm in 1983 moved Dean, and their 5-month-old son Hal, as Dean likes to say, with all of their worldly belongings in a quite small U-Haul truck to Montgomery, Alabama. In late 1987, a senior partner in his firm came to him and said, "There's this outfit called the Alabama Oilmen's Association, and they're looking for a lawyer." They said that they had used lawyers on an as-needed basis before, but felt like they'd grown enough to where they wanted a lawyer to call their own and preferred someone young that could grow with them. That partner asked Dean if he would be willing to have lunch with them, and Dean readily agreed. Shortly thereafter, Dean and his partner met at the old Elite restaurant in Montgomery that many of you will recall, and had lunch with the AOA's then executive director, Jeff Barber, and AOA board member, Wayne Russell of Russell Petroleum. At the January 1988 board meeting, which used to be a part of the association's annual legislative conference, Dean and another lawyer that had been identified in Montgomery made presentations to the board for the job. Dean says to his ever-loving good fortune, the board chose him, and this month he will have been with the association for 30 years. Dean has said that when he was hired by the association, that what he knew about an underground storage tank was that it was probably underground. Few lawyers, if any, in Alabama would know more about underground storage tanks now. Dean's footprint on the gasoline and convenience store industry in the state of Alabama is as big as anyone's in the past 30 years. Little has occurred in our industry in that period of time that Dean has not had his hands on. He's probably represented 75% of the people in this room in some form or another over the years, and many of you have called him your attorney for much, if not all, of the past 30 years. He represents association members before all regulatory bodies in the state, drafts all of the industry-driven legislation for the association, and handles virtually all legal matters for his jobber and C-store owner clients, as well as for many of P&Cma's associate members. At P&Cma, we've always said that the 2 most important pieces of legislation in our industry are the Alabama Motor Fuel Marketing Act, our below-cost sales law, and the Alabama Underground and Above Ground Storage Tank Trust Fund. Dean has been essentially the sole enforcer of our Alabama Motor Fuel Marketing Act, which has served as the premier below-cost sales law in the country since its introduction in 1984, having withstood the test of time and several legal and legislative challenges, most of which Dean had a lead role in. He's enforced the law successfully in numerous federal courts in Alabama, including the Murphy Oil litigation in Huntsville and the Sam's Club litigation in Montgomery. Certainly one of the most, if not the most significant event in Dean's role as legal counsel for the industry in Alabama involved the constitutional challenge against our funding mechanism for our Underground and Above Ground Storage Tank Trust Fund. Like the Alabama Motor Fuel Marketing Act, Alabama's Tank Trust Fund is considered one of the country's best and continues to provide federally mandated pollution liability insurance for all of Alabama UST owners. Dean has authored all of the legislative amendments to both the Motor Fuel Marketing Act and the Alabama Tank Trust Fund for the past 30 years. However, many of you will recall when passed, the trust fund charge was originally $150 per tank. It was recognized quickly that an effective trust fund could not be funded on that basis, and we changed the legislation in 1994 to go to a per-gallon basis. There was an immediate legal challenge asserting that a per-tank charge was essentially a tax and violated Alabama's constitutional earmarking amendments that provided that all taxes or charges on motor fuels must go to roads and bridges. Dean was lead counsel in that litigation and first defeated the plaintiffs' attempts to have a class of tank owners certified, and then prevailed at the trial court level on all legal challenges. The plaintiffs appealed, and in fact, oral argument was held before the Alabama Court of Civil Appeals, and Dean made the principal oral argument for the industry. I'm proud to say that I was present at those oral arguments, and the Alabama Civil Court of Appeals ruled in the case of One Stop versus the State of Alabama Department of Revenue and others that the funding mechanism was not illegal or improper and upheld our per-gallon charge. What many of us don't fully appreciate is, had that litigation been lost, we likely would have lost our tank trust fund, which continues to serve tank owners throughout Alabama and adds significant value to your business. Further, there have been approximately 80 tank leak cases filed in Alabama during the past 30 years that have been trust fund eligible, meaning the trust fund pays for cleanup and third-party liability. Dean has represented the tank owners in approximately 70 of those 80 cases. Dean will tell you that the gasoline industry has allowed him to essentially commit his professional career to this industry, a commitment that he has made with great gusto and with great pride. Dean says he's never loved the law, as you'll hear some lawyers say. What he loves about what he does is the relationships, and that's the never more true than with the relationships in this industry. He's very proud to say that his clients in the gasoline industry have been with him 10, 20, even 30 years, such as obviously the trade association itself. Dean counts many of the relationships he has made in this industry as some of his best friends in the world. And one of the true benefits of being from rural West Alabama and growing up hunting and fishing and playing golf is the opportunity to have hunted and fished and played golf and traveled with gasoline industry clients over the years. It's one thing to have a business relationship with a client over legal matters, but something far different to be able to hunt with good bird dogs, fly fish, or play golf with friends to really get to know someone. Dean says that's been a real good fortune for him over the years with his clients in this industry. Dee and Dean have two sons, Hal and Robert, both attorneys. Hal was the Student Government Association president at the University of Alabama his senior year and is a partner with the large Bradley A-Ramp firm out of Birmingham in their Huntsville, Alabama office. Robert was first-team All-State basketball player in Montgomery from the Montgomery Academy and one of only 6 first-team All-State selections in the history of the school. He played basketball at then Division I Birmingham Southern College and is a graduate of Cumberland School of Law at Samford University. Robert practices law with his dad at Mooty and Associates in Montgomery. Dee and Dean have 4 grandchildren, Liddy, Stiles, Drew, and Miller, who are interestingly 5, 4, 3, and 2 years of age, respectively. Ladies and gentlemen, the man who needs no introduction to this organization or this group, Mr. Dean Mooty.